Hi, and welcome to the SSL Certificate Challenge. In this step-by-step, I will talk you through a number of things that you can do in order to solve this challenge in a more structural way. So, first of all, we are going to create a new certificate. There is this service called Let's Encrypt on the internet. And with Let's Encrypt, you can generate free SSL certificates for your domain. So first of all, for this challenge, we need a computer, a Windows computer with PowerShell. But there are many implementations that you can choose from Let's Encrypt, um, where you can actually choose a language of your choice. So there are many different options. The certbot is the most used one, but there are many services that you can use to actually do the same things, but in the language of your choice. So going back to the challenge, we first need to open our PowerShell and install the Let's Encrypt module. So let's do that first. After that, we need to initialize a vault. And a vault is just a local thing that is stored on your PC that will keep all the keys that you will generate. Now we need to go and put in the details of our own team. So I will quickly do that and then we will paste that in the PowerShell script. If you are not sure what your details are, just go to the challenge's website and press the team information button and you will find all the information that you need to overcome this challenge. So I have created this file and I will just create a new registration in my key vault. Create a new identifier and after that we will create an update. As you can see, the status is now pending. That is an important status. We need to complete the challenge to get a token from Let's Encrypt. And to retrieve the token again, once we have completed that, you get a challenge. You can see the HTTP URL, you can see a file content, and you can see a token. This token is needed, and this file content is needed on your web app. So we need to add a file in the web application with this content. So the file needs to be stored here on this location, and the contents of these files or this file needs to be this. This is needed so that Let's Encrypt can actually do a curl or actually a web request to this file so it can see that the domain actually belongs to you. So I will quickly put in this file and I will use for now the web portal to do this. So I will go to the web portal. And for this, I will use the app service editor. This is an inline editor where I can just add files and remove files and do whatever I want. The location is very important. We need to go to www.root and there is already a folder there called .wellknown.acme challenge. We need to create a new file in this directory and we will give it the name of the token. New file. Then the contents of this file need to be the challenge content that needs to be here in the Let's Encrypt. And it's automatically saved. To quickly check that, go to your website and add this token to the URL. And as you can see, it now has a valid challenge. So now that we have this file that can actually prove that the domain is ours, we can go back to our PowerShell script and submit the challenge. We have submitted it. We can still look and update. And as you can see, the status is valid. So we have actually proved Let's Encrypt now knows that the domain is ours, and we now can generate valid SSL certificates. So for that, we are going to execute this whole script here that is generating all the certificates that we actually need. So I have updated the whole script with my own variables. Make sure that the directory that you refer to exists. And I'm now going to generate all the certificates here. So now we are done. We have created this Europe demo PFX certificate. With this certificate, we can go to our website. We can go to SSL settings. We can go to private certificates. We can upload the certificate that we just generated. And we can upload the certificate. As you can see, the certificate is now attached to our hostname. We can go to bindings. We can add an SSL binding for our custom domain. We can choose the certificate that we want. Select the SSL type and add binding. I won't finish this step because this certificate is not a valid certificate. Use the wildcard certificate instead, but this will solve all the steps of this first challenge solve. Good luck. Now that we have uploaded a certificate with a script that we can later use in the pipeline, we also need to make sure that we can detect these things from happening ever again. So we want to know upfront when our certificate is about to expire, and we want to know that a number of days upfront, at least, so maybe a month upfront. So for that, we can use all kinds of tools. We can use dashboards. There are websites that can check that. You can use your own scripting. So experiment with whatever you like. But in this example, we are going to leverage Azure DevOps to actually do this check and use the dashboard functionality of Azure DevOps to show what is happening with your build. So first of all, in our repos, we are going to add a new script, which is called check certificate expires. And this script, which is in the code samples, will have your resource group name. You can of course make it a bit fancier with adding parameters to your script, but for now I will just use the resource group name. For now, we are checking that the number of days is less or equal than 400. So it will always say that the certificate is expired because the Let's Encrypt certificates only last for 3 months. Then we are going to add a new pipeline. So in this pipeline, we are going to add a Azure PowerShell script, which will point to our Azure subscription. And we will run this check a certificate expired script. We don't have any parameters here. So when I queue this build will start running. So my build failed, but this is a good thing because the certificate is about to expire because 74 days is lesser than the 400 days. So that's good. But now we want to have some detection. For that, we can go to our overview, to the dashboards, and we can add a new dashboard. So for example, call it detect. On this dashboard, we can create a widget. And for example, we can use the build health overview, which shows the health of all the builds. Or we can show the build health details. The build health details can show you the status of one specific build. So in our case, this CI build. I'm done editing, and now you can see it's all red. So if we now rename the build to something that makes sense, we can see that our certificate about to expire detection is nicely shown on the dashboard. Now that we have all the scripts in place to actually renew the certificate, the only thing that we need to do is to automate the process of renewing. For that, we are going to our Azure DevOps project and we are going to the repos. Within the repo, you can add a new script. It doesn't actually matter where, but I will put it in the scripts folder and I will create a script auto renew. This script will be provided in the challenges. This script contains all the lines of code that you need to run through the steps that you earlier did manually, creating a new certificate and getting the certificate PFX file. Once you have created this file, you can save it and we can go to the pipelines. I created a new pipeline, a new build pipeline, and this time I used the classic editor without YAML to easily use the tasks. I will create an empty job and I will add a new Azure PowerShell task. The big advantage of this PowerShell task is that you can actually point to a service connection and it will authenticate automatically to your own resource group. Now that you have added your service connection, you can point to the file auto renew and you can put in all the parameters that are needed by the file. And if you want to know which parameters that are, you can go back to your repos and look at the parameters section. I have filled in everything. So this PowerShell script automatically renews the certificate. If you now queue the build, it will automatically generate the certificates and it will upload the certificate to the website, but it will not bind the certificate to the website. So for that, we need to add one extra line of code. We'll go back to this autorenew.ps1 file, and the line of code that you can add is also provided in the challenges, and it's the new Azure Web SSL binding. It uses the same parameters as used in the previous file. So what this does, it takes the certificate and it binds it to your custom domain name. From here, you can go back to your pipeline and queue the build. There is one thing that you should know. So the certificate that we generate are using the Let's Encrypt staging file. And that doesn't generate a real certificate. So if you run through these steps and you upload the certificate, everything will work, but your website will still give an error that the certificate does not have a valid root authority. For that, you can easily solve that by adding the certificate that you obtained in step 1, put it in your repo and make it so that the script uses the certificate from your repo by just pointing to another path. You can also make it a bit more fancy and add a certificate to your key vault and use the key vault task in your pipeline. The Azure Key Vault task to get the certificate from your key vault and use that instead.